So you start from the illiquid aspect, the pure illiquid. This is the Hernando de Soto definition of informal property, right? It doesn't get banked, no one knows about it. The transactability doesn't really apply because the lifetime of that property is really limited, in addition to the fact that it is insecurely defined. So we have an illiquid piece of property on a pot of water there, kind of another oxymoron. Now we move on to Africa. The previous one was in Southeast Asia. We're going to Africa where you see, here is a house, the house of the same people, the residents, and this is actually the store where they are fixing their little whatever vehicles they have. So they have a combination. Now, again, it is not a formal property, but it's moving towards more market-defined. The same country, it is Burkina Faso. Sure.
Just question. So no one owns any of this, or the government owns it, or they're not allowed to own it, or?
No, you own it. You know you own it. You do know you own your property. Your neighbors know you own your property. You don't have a formal admitted right to own your property. So if you wish to travel, the probability of you returning back and finding your property intact is limited. So that's the meaning of enforceability.
So someone else can move straight in and
somebody else can move straight in, or even the government can take it, and you have no ability to claim any redemption right over it.
So,
Thank you for the question.
So you own it to the extent that you don't own the land?
You own anything. You own everything. You can own the land.
So as long as you're there. You don't
As long as you're there. I mean, it's very evolutionary. Imagine, right, in the very beginning of a societal evolutionary stage, where people don't really travel very much. It just, somebody goes out, hunts, comes back in, cooks, eats, then the next day they go out, they come back in. Now you go to a second evolutionary stage where people move, they travel, they get educated, they send their kids to Santa Clara University for a master's degree, right? They send me here to tell you, when I go back, how will I feel if I don't find my house where I was supposed to find it? I'll continue to be tired. I don't have a place to sleep. So I'm exaggerating to the point of making it into a joke, but it is indeed, that's the point we're talking about. So the evolutionary element of that societal development is that one, yes?
No, since you mentioned the name Elena Panaritis, I have recently watched a video about Peru.
Oliver Twist.
I think he's from Peru.
Yeah,
right?
Oliver Twist.
Yeah.
The video called Oliver Twist.
Okay, yeah. So did you work with him on this project?
As a matter of fact, we hired Hernando de Soto's Institute in the early 90s to work with their lawyers. It is discussed in chapter 4 how this occurred. Yeah, very much so. So this is a market right there, and this is actually Latin American Peru. You see the evolution of the strain of the social development. So now we have roads, and we have a bit of precarious, still precarious. These are straw panels, and they're somewhere in between straw panels and actual cardboard walls. This is an extraordinary picture. Okay, you can ask me, does anyone know what this is?
Is it put up by the UN or something?
No, there is no UN here. And it's not a conflict-stricken place, so it's peaceful, but it is indeed. It's the first domicile, the first place where a couple wishes, when a couple becomes a couple, and they either get married or they decide to live together, whatever, because we're in this part of the world where also getting married, which is another right, may take you several months to issue the rate and the certificate, and several other months to actually go about it, so and too expensive, so what's the point of doing that? We're getting together. Okay? But they're young people, they don't have money, so what do? They buy that one little, this is a straw panel right up there. There are 4 of them, they put them around. Well, they're not that developed yet in the food chain of income, income. So they're putting it like this, and it looks like an igloo. They call it an igloo. There is an English word for this blue thing that is an insulator. It's blue plastic. It's also like a textile, but it's very thick, and it's used. Tarp. Somebody said it, tarp. Did you say it? Good. So we have a tarp. We put it on because it's very humid at night and very dry in the morning, and that's what keeps them insulated. And then this part here is basically their door. As a matter of fact, you'll see it right here in my book. It's the only reason you should buy it. Right here. Okay. So now in the second year, they'll move there. Now who said is this owned by government? They own it themselves. They've purchased it themselves, the whole land. And it is, look, it's been demarcated pretty clearly. So each person, each family owns that plot of land. It has been demarcated. Look at this. This is a demarcation. Here is another demarcation. Over there you see. So, but the right is not limited. And what do you mean by right? We'll go further. Hopefully it's going to be defined.
I'm curious why the proximity?
I'm sorry?
Why the proximity to other people?
Why such a close proximity? No, that's the amount of, the way it works is that they would get a group of 50, 100, or as many as they are. They will get together and they will actually purchase a piece of land. And then they will get together and define the lots. The lots are defined with an engineer because the way you're actually to get to the final property right, you have to, I'm trying to give you a whole year class in 25 minutes, so I'm sorry, I'm going to go a little fast. So they have an engineer because when they are to afterwards individually get a property title and a right, registered title, they have to declare to the municipality those zoning codes that they have. So the proximity here looks close, but then when you come to Greece, it's the same thing. It depends on the space and the zoning codes that they have. Oh, okay, so here we go. I talked about Greece. So this is another, we're moving on, okay, in the semi-formal. So this is Venezuela, Caracas. No zoning here. People just got in and build. And here, they built, and then some utility company came and said, you just noticed it? Some utility company came and said, by the way, we need to pass our light poles by your verandas. Did you notice that? So no coffee at that veranda, I would suggest. And now we're going to Eastern Europe. We're going to Eastern Europe, where I spent the last 3.5 years of my life these days. And this is a very interesting piece of property where the plot was, the house is actually built during the communist times and was owned by the state. But then they tried to restitute properties. It was a very a la mode thing to do right after the Cold War. But the plots that they were restituted, you see they were like cut in half, so they couldn't really cut the building in half, so now the building has been abandoned. The rights are confusing. People that lived on that building have moved out, and they're pretty much unable to purchase something else. So the majority of these people actually have immigrated to the States under special programs. And those guys who actually live in these buildings are gypsies, Romans. The degradation of property generating, ghetto areas is also another effect. And that's another part of Eastern Europe. That's beautiful. That's Ramallah, Palestinian Authority, the newly built capital city of the Palestinian Authority.